From Senegal to Sugar Hill, trace the bloodline. 100 years of brilliance through the color line. They thought the shackles broke but kept the mental chain. Langston penned the future while they legislated pain. Harlem's ballrooms birthed the cosmos in mahogany, while lynching trees still decorated southern botany. Josephine, Waker's pearls and Garvey's Navy ships. Du Bois debating destiny with scholarship on his lips. The Renaissance was a renaissance, it was resistance, fam. Every trumpet blast from Armstrong was a battering ram. They gave us minstrel shows, we gave them Sora Neal. Turned depression into art, made the fabricated real. Cotton Club excluded us from tables every set. Performed the Venus nightly, never free from the deck. But Bessie Smith could shatter glass, shatter cash, shatter lies. Every note she sang contained a revolution in disguise. Build temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the scrubble. Turned the margins to the center, now they study what we scribble. We built temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from. Fast forward through the decades, watch the pattern reassemble. Malcolm's speeches, Martin's marches, every voice begins to tremble to the earth until the structure shows its fractures. FBI was tracking every coon with every pastor, every actor. 40 acres never came but 40 minutes on a stage. Could reconvene your consciousness and channelize the rage. From bebop to hip-hop, the fool lines mathematical. Each generation weaponized the beautiful, the radical. They gave us Reagan, now there's crack and mass incarceration. We gave them Public Enemy and blueprints for liberation. The Harlem Renaissance never ended, just evolved its form. Every freestyle cipher is a brainstorm, is a storm. Where the children of the talented, the tempted, the boys prophesied, inherit the fire that the water couldn't wash aside. They tried to write us out the narrative. We offered all on text, 100 years of proof, and that we're destined. Where was next? Temples from the rubble, made cathedrals from the struggle. Turned the largest to the center, now they study what we scribble. We built temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from.
All right, man. Hey, this is Under the Groove Podcast. My bad, people. Snafu for show on my end. And for the life of me, I couldn't get that thing to stop. I'm like, all right, I didn't press some button I had no business pressing, first off. But I pressed it and couldn't find the button that was pressed. So everything, man, everything went down the tubes. But again, that's okay. I'm going to bring it back, man. We are here. And we're going to pick up where we leave off or where we left off at, all right? Again, this is Monday, and a happy Monday to everybody. This is our motivation and momentum day. You know, this day, you know, hopefully, or we would like to think that we can use this day to propel us throughout the week. Let's pick up something in the day that not just motivates us, but inspires us and gives us a certain momentum to get us from A to Z. All right. This week, 5 days already. You know, I'm up against it. All right. But hey, there we go. We are resilient. We'll bounce back. I'm back. All right. All right. Hey, bam, I see you, loved one. Oh, snap for my end. Hey, man, us older brothers really got to get this technology down pat. Otherwise, man, because look foolish, man. I'm like, God damn, what the hell happened? But anyway, good to see you up in here, my brother. How's everything? All right. Everything is everything. I already know, bro. I already know. Good to see you with your support, you know, front and center, man. Appreciate that. Always. Salute. Bam say, man, salute to the chat. All right, Sam Evans, I see you up in here, loved one. Well, technically, yeah, but no, you know, this is the second get down of the live in the last 20 minutes because something went down, man. I couldn't get this damn video to stop playing, and it frustrated me enough to make me just kill the whole thing. Hey, man, I'm going to jump back in. I'm going to kill the whole thing, but I'm going to jump back in here, and let's see if we can't pick up where we left off. Let's see if, you know, everybody ain't too mad at me about effing up. You know, but I'm cool enough to say, all right, come on, man, let's give him another shot. For those of you who do, appreciate you, love and respect you for it. But yeah, man, yeah, technically, yeah, you're on time, but technically, you know, good to see you here, though, bro. Good to see you here, man. You say I'm here on time, UTG. And you know what we say, man, better late than never. Life is good, man, regardless, bam. You know what we say, we take the good with the bad, man. When they give you lemons, you make lemonade. Hey, man, and if it knock you down, get the hell back up, dust yourself off, keep going, man. That's the script. That's the script, man. All right, we got South Memphis in the house, man. All right, Paige T. Clean. Paige T. Clean says, salute from South Memphis. Appreciate you up in here, Paige. Real spit, bro. Appreciate your support. You tapping in right quick, man. We just getting started, so you right on time. I see you, Henry. What it do, loved one? You say, peace, brother Bub. Salute to the chat. Right back to you, man. Peace and prosperity, you and yours. Let's get it in. I had some stuff lined up, man, in the lineup that basically just spoke to, man, what's going on in our communities. Because I don't think, well, we deal with this enough. We talk about what ails the community and how we see the destruction occurring in the community. What are the solutions? How do we go about trying to help those young brothers and sisters, period, who are caught up in this, this web or this rapture, let's call it that, who find it not necessarily hard to get out of, but don't see no other choices, I say, man, any choice is better than the one a lot of our brothers and sisters are making today, especially in terms of that culture, the gang culture, and how this thing is playing out with our young brothers and sisters. Any choice is better than that, man. Any choice is better than that. But again, no, with that choice, there come other little, other things are applied to it or attached to it. You know what I mean? So we want to try to find a way to, man, to get brothers, man, just, away from that, period, point blank. If we get just one, if we reach one, then our work is done. We're well on our way. Now, what do we offer them? Shit, a lot of us ain't got shit to begin with. You know what I mean? But the thing is, I think in spite of the fact our finances aren't what they should be, what they need to be to help our community come out of the situation they're in, we have insight, we have advice. But the thing is, do these young brothers or do brothers and sisters in general want to take it? Will they hear it from the horse's mouth in terms of what awaits them in the streets when it comes to this culture? We started out talking about there's so many brothers, man, who are home now. But man, the truth of the matter is those brothers who are home now off of life sentences, hey man, they're at a stage now where, yeah, man, a lot of this, they ain't with a lot of this shit. They see or they know the end result of it. They spent 25, 35, 45 years inside them cages, man, wishing they can go back in time, change a lot of decisions and choices they made that sat them on the shelf for decades, watch their lives, they watched their lives just wither away, man. They watched as their family lives ended, or were faced with tragedies, trauma, a lot of hurt, pain, whatever, couldn't do nothing for them. We want to try to be the ones, or we would like to give our brothers and sisters who haven't went that road, but very well may be on that road to that perspective, advice. Like, hey man, miss that. Ain't nothing gonna come, nothing good will come from it. Nothing good will come from it. There's only two things you're gonna get as a result of that. You'll get a couple of prizes. You're not gonna like them, and you didn't got the prize, say it's just life sentence in prison, you're going to want to get that prize back. If it's the other one, you ain't going to have no choice. You know what I mean? There's no appeal. There's no parole board. There's nothing. That's just the end of it. We want to advise you, brothers and sisters, man, that this shit, it ain't cracked up what it's made out to be. It's just not. I've been one of the ones, and there's so many others. We got OG Bam up in here, and he's chopping it up with us, man. He comes in, appreciate his presence, man. He'd tell you guys as well, hey, man, this is not the get down. It's a trap. It's a trap. They got us out in these streets, man, acting fools, man, and we still have nothing. The ones who are making all the money on our foolishness don't give none of it back to the community, in no form or fashion. They don't want to give any back because they rather have us continue to be this way so that they can eat while we suffer. So yeah, man, our advice is, hey man, no, don't buy it. Don't buy it, man. Miss it, because no good is going to come from it. Like I said, I know too many brothers, and not just from Hoover, not just from Hoover Street, man, but from all over, who are just now coming home after decades, man, of being in prison as a result of some of the same shit we see our young brothers and sisters doing today. You know? And nowadays, they don't have to give you young brothers. They don't have to give anybody a life sentence. They just give you double numbers, double or triple numbers. That'll hold you. That'll hold you, you know? And, you know, for the most part, a lot of time they give us is actually unconstitutional, it's illegal. But shit, how do we know that? You know, we're going into prison, man, unaware, ignorant of the law. We don't know that they done gave us 50 years too much on a sentence that requires maybe 10 or 15. We don't know that. It would take 10 or 15 for us to come into the know, you know, and by that time the appeal might be dead. So you'll probably be sitting there, you know. We want to try to find a way to help brothers and sisters to avoid that. This is why we have some of the conversations we have, all right? We do that, man, for the sake of the people, you know. We do that for the sake of the people. You don't have to stick your hand in the fire to know that you get burned if you do. Listen to somebody who's done it and got scorched, you know, or wounded as a result of it. You know, first degree burns. They'll tell you all about it if you ask them, if you listen. Most of them are more than willing to say, hey, man, this shit is a trap. We bit into some bullshit, you know? So that's the objective, my brothers and sisters, is to, you know, shed light on the fact that, man, you know, we have to start, or we need to start inspiring and motivating, if such a thing is possible, you know, for one individual to do for another, motivating and inspiring our brothers and sisters, man, to choose something different, choose something other than what we see taking place. There's too many levels, man, to this stuff to where it can be pointed out on too many levels to where it shows. It's just evident that this shit is no good, man. I don't care what set you from. Every set is experiencing the same denigration, the same dissension, the same disrespect, the same amount of death. Nobody is winning. No one is winning in respects to what we call our culture, our gang culture. You know, we call it gang culture, man, and I'm telling you, it's not healthy. It serves no purpose other than you either going to prison for a very long time or dying. Straight up. That's it, man. I you know, I can't tell you any straighter or simpler than that. This shit is rigged, man, to destroy you. And through that, your family ends up suffering as well. It's impacted as well. So that's like that's a double, you know, that's a twofer for them. You know, take you from the streets where you're supposed to be handling your business, you know, taking care of your family. That's handling your business, you know, doing all the things a man is supposed to do in terms of his family. They extract you from that equation. Guess what? Now your family's out here again. It's naked. You know, it's unprotected. There's no one providing for it like you could, or like you would if you was on your game. You know what I mean? If you're out here on your game, can't nobody do for your family better than you. But if they remove you from that equation, then you're gone. You're no help, no assistance, not even to yourself. You can't even take care of yourself in prison nowadays, tell you the truth. Ain't a gang of shit going on in prison, but drugs. Real spit, you know, drugs. You know, so you're gonna either be one of them cats that's using, or one of them cats trying to find a way to, you know what I mean, make an end, you know. Prison ain't what it, you know, you don't even learn shit in prison no more. At least that was, you know, it was a bad look for a lot of us to go to prison. But in a lot of ways, and it might be hard for some of you who do not get this, in, you know, in terms of me expressing this, a lot of ways, prison saved a lot of us. But that prison, that aspect of prison doesn't really exist anymore. You know, where there was a structure. I mean, that was ironclad. You know what I mean? Where brothers could come in illiterate and leave their scholars, you know, Brothers could come in there, man, just, ignorant, but leave their conscious aware. That prison doesn't exist anymore, you know. And like I was saying a minute ago, we got brothers coming home who been there for decades. These brothers are coming home, they're structured brothers, but they're coming home to a society, or to a community or communities that lack structure. Structure is non-existent. So then, therefore, these brothers who know better now, they say, wait a minute, man, no, I see this problem. I don't want to be a part of it, because in our minds, to a great extent, we're thinking one or two things. I'm going to end up back in prison or dead if I involve myself with all this unity, this disrespect, just this wilding out, this crashing out shit. There's no structure. And I'm telling you, some of the best brothers right now in our home, they're here where we can get some good structure from, in such a way, man. It would help a lot of these nonprofits in the communities who do a lot of this mentoring, if they do it at all. I know of a few. We got one in our community. I don't know how much mentoring they do, but shout out to Tough, man. I know Tough, he puts in the work. Tough needs some help, myself and others who are around Tough, they assist Tough. I just, went to Tough and say, hey, man, how can you use me? How can I apply what I know to help you reach these brothers and sisters? So, I'm in there, and I'm waiting on Tough to direct me and let me know what to do. But I'm just one of many brothers who actually want to do that. We have all kind of nonprofits in our community, and some might be struggling. Some might not have a plan or a system or a program that actually caters to getting these young brothers and sisters off the street. I hear often enough, a lot of these nonprofits say, well, they don't want to listen. Okay, what are you saying? Who's saying it to them? Here's the reality, man. You can't have hypocrites preaching truth. It just don't work like that. You know what I mean? You can't have brothers out here setting different examples. You know what I mean? Straddling the fence. Either you gonna, you in that, you in that. And if you getting out, you say, hey man, I'm getting out, but I want to let them know, come on, man, get out, because this is how it should be. If you stay there, this is what's gonna happen. We got a lot of, like I said, nonprofits who probably have programs, but at the same time, consider they may have the wrong individuals trying to talk to the right people. There's something to think about, man. There's something to think about. But we got brothers home, and I'm pretty sure, like I said, a lot of brothers that are home now, man, they love the community that they come out of, that they grew up in, that they watch loved ones pass away in. You know what I mean? But they not loving. They love the communities. They not loving what they see. I'm pretty sure of that. We need to figure out how to get these brothers, man, to come wherever it is, man, and assist those nonprofits that really are seeking the assistance and help from individuals that they know without a doubt can bring a difference, to that get down, that nonprofit. That's something. Because again, we have these young brothers and sisters. It's like, man, there's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. They just doing shit. If it trend, they own it. And they don't really care about nothing until they caught. Because, if you're dead, you can't care. You know what I mean? But when they're caught, that's when you see it. You hear it, because they're yammering, So to me, that says that a lot of them wasn't really, about it like that. So that means something, man. There are certain cries for help that exist in our communities, man, that we're not addressing. That's all I'm saying, man. And in order to address them, there are some people out in each and every one of these communities, man, who can just bring truth to power to a lot of these brothers and sisters who, who need to hear it. But again, they get the right person, man. Have the right people in place to speak truth to power to these brothers and sisters, man. That's all I suggest. Because I see individuals, man, and I be like, yeah, man, that's some bullshit. I see it. I see it. I see the game. You know what I mean? And the game is all that matters. And we see that a lot. Where there's no real integrity. There's just the desire for a check. But you got brothers out there, man, and they ain't making a whole bunch of nothing, but they there every day. And, they're there for the right reasons. It's a lot of BS, man, going on. But at the same time, you got some good people involved. But again, they need help too. They need support from the right individuals. So like I say, I wish I can do more. Just let me know. Hey, man, we need you to come and hang out, man. And hey, I'm Johnny on the spot. There are a whole lot of individuals like that, man. And you guys out there are supposed to be pushing this line in terms of the community, making it a better place, even if you're disregarding a certain age group. If you say the YNs at a certain age, they're unreachable, okay. But what about the ones behind them? You got to put in that work double time now and then. I don't know. But there are enough of us out here to get this shit done, man. Because what we want to avoid, or what we like to help them avoid, is all that time they handing out to young brothers and sisters. We want to see them avoid that, man. No better person to do that than somebody who's already been through that. That's what I say. Yeah. So that is. That is, man. All right, Paige C say, what's up, Groove, man? Everything is everything, brother. Good to see you in here. Like I said, man, peace and prosperity, you and the fam. Good to have you here. Yeah, save our youth, man. We save our youth, we save our communities, That's how it should be viewed. I mean, what do you think? We want to save the community, but in order to do that, you got to save the people in the community, right? You save the youth who are coming up, whose time is here, then you save the community. You save prospects, potential for the future. That's a given. You know what I mean? That's a given, because now we're trying to bring up not just responsible or accountable individuals, but those type of people are young ones who are not just motivated, but inspired to be something better than what we see typically every day, again, in each and one of our communities. We want to bring to the board, a new breed, man, But the only way to do that, again, man, is to bring those who are on the board, who are the same individuals decades ago, who see now with, the opportunities that they have that we didn't have. We got to bring them to the board, man, and lace these cats, these brothers and sisters, man, so that they can be productive, not just in their own lives, again, but in the lives of their families. The family is the community, man. So that is, man, shit. Save our youth, man. In order to do that, though, we got to put in the work. We got to do the work. Paige T. Clean said, man, I'll start doing street interviews with young people. And I asked him what it is they need instead of guessing. All right, some of the youth today, not all things, okay? Jail and football numbers are a badge of honor. Sad situation. I get the gist of what you're saying, bro. Growing up, man, and I think a lot of brothers can relate to this as well. Yeah, there were different aspects of the culture that existed when we were growing up. There was, man, look, man, for real. There were the athletes, there were the players, the playboys and players. There was the hustlers, and there was just, them, just the thug type, You know what I mean? The thug type individuals, man. But each category individuals had solid, there were solid dudes in them. I hate to say it, and a lot of y'all won't agree, but there were. You had athletes that didn't take no shit. I don't care who you was. You know what I mean? Real spit, man. Most brothers say that. Same go for players. Same go for hustlers. Same go for, you know, the street level, the thug type, you know. But my point is that there were all kind of individuals, man, who would just, you know, in spite of what the circumstances or how they was representing some shit. And I mean, not necessarily the athlete or the student, you know what I mean? But when we talk about hustlers, even players, you know, they had a certain integrity, you know, they did. But, you know, hustlers and thugs, you know, come on, man, there were still a lot of good brothers who were involved in that shit, you know, and why they got involved in there are so many reasons. There's so many explanations as to why that occurred. You know what I mean? You know, me, myself, I could speak to it for me. But, you know, they were in it, but they had these individuals had good hearts. But the longer they stayed in this shit, man, the less the heart was in terms of, you know, being principled, being good, you know, being the type of heart that actually had, you know, empathy and sympathy for the community of those in it. You know, the longer we stayed in it, the worse it got. You know, the more of our original selves, our nurture selves, our mature self, our good selves, you know, deteriorated, you know, it wasted away. Athletes, though, you know, they're team players, you know what I mean? So there was a lot in that. There's a lot of good in that. We don't see that nowadays. A lot of these young cats don't get involved in sports, you know what I mean? With sports comes a lot of discipline, you know, structure, shit like that. And this is why I think part of the reason why even in the gang culture in the beginning, there was structure. You know, a lot of them brothers, they understood structure. They understood, you know, certain disciplines, you know. You don't have that today, man. Young brothers, man. That's not to say young brothers don't involve themselves in sports, but not like it used to be. That doesn't say a lot of young brothers and sisters don't involve themselves in their academics, you know, education. You know, that's not true either. You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, not that many of our people are actually involved like they used to be. It would, you know, everybody seemed to be over here on this BS we see going on more than over here and all these other things that could lead to a different outcome in the individual's lives. That's all I'm saying. I see the difference. I don't know if anyone else does, but I know it exists. You know, nowadays in sports, you see more Hispanics in sports than you do, you know, our brothers and sisters. I remember back in the day, shit, that old damn team, everybody was trying to be on the basketball team, the football team, or the baseball team, running track, something. And that went for sisters as well. Nowadays, you don't see that, you know, you don't see it, you know. Only time you actually see this type of get down is when a mother or a father understands, you know what I'm saying, how sports can help structure, you know, a child's life, you know, so they get them involved and they couple that with their own structure and ability to lead their children on the right path. That's sometimes you really see that, but you don't see it on a scale anymore to where, like I say, man, if you're on a block, both sides of the street, man, then everybody on the street, I don't care what you're doing, was in the sports, you know. And then with the others were in the education, you know, science, all kind of shit. You don't see that no more. That's the point I'm trying to make. How do we get back to that? How do we bring back some structure, man? You know, so that principles and shit, accountability, you know, responsibility is something that we can start seeing again, even in our youth. You know, my suggestion is, yeah, man, a lot of us have to get involved in these nonprofits. I think that's a way. You know, even if the nonprofits are not about pushing these sort of things, mentorships, you know, stuff like that. Hey, man, go in there with an ideal suggestion and let's see, you know, what happens as a result of that. You know, but if we're waiting on other people to do something for us, it's not going to get done, you know, especially when we know what the ingredient needs to be added to this mix is, you know what I mean? We can't wait for that, man. It's not a good look, you know, not a good look. So yeah, hey man, appreciate you, man. Industry's hollering at the young people, trying to get an understanding of what it is they want, you know. Paige, you're going to say, man, okay, yeah, that was a comment though. You know, jail in football numbers is a badge of honor. Yeah, and that's a sad situation. You know, basketball numbers, you know, out here, basketball numbers, California, you know, 80 years, you know, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. And yeah, initially to them, it's a badge of honor until, you know, reality steps in and shock their asses right back in the present, you know. It hit them like a ton of bricks. Damn. Them bastards really gave me 120 years. California, what's that? 60%, 70%? I don't know what the percentage is. Even if it's 120 years, that's 60 years. You're going in late teens, early 20s. Do the math. You know? Not good, man. Not good at all. And that's the mindset that Paige is mentioning that we have to start addressing. That, hey, man, this should not be a badge of honor for none of you young brothers and sisters. All this is, man, what it really represent is that your life is over. Your life is done, you know, before it even got started. So that it is, man. You know, we got to figure out some stuff, man, to help our people. Bam saying no form of fashion, man. Salute right back to you. Everybody that's coming up in here, man, hollering, sending these shots out, man. Lonzo said, man, hey, man, don't throw your life away, young men, please, and young women. You know, because they're getting into this thing now, too. We see our sisters, man, becoming more aggressive. You know, a lot more testosterone, you know what I mean? You know, just, you know, there's a change taking place. It's unnatural. Again, in our communities. I'm not, you know, I know what's going on everywhere else, but my focus is mainly on our communities. And that's why I see I'm sure most of us do, these drastic changes taking place amongst our people, male and female. We see this shit, you know, we see it, you know, seems as if no one wants a future. You know, as young men and young women, as men and women, no one wants a future, man. Been thrown away for nothing. Honestly, for nothing. Again, I'll be the one. I can speak for me. My decades in prison was for nothing. I didn't get nothing from it. You know, other than, and I say this again, in order to just bring a little clarity in terms of what was going on when I first hit the prison system. You know, back then, prison had a certain structure to it. There was a certain protocol you had to follow, and blacks, we hear all this shit nowadays about Latinos and Mexicans in prison running shit, whatever, you know, structure. We had all that first. We had it, you know, in spite of whatever the conflicts may have been with each other, there was structure. And that structure was emulated. It was copied by other groups or ethnicities. You know, that's the thing that's missing. Well, for me, that's what I got from it, structure. And sad to say, I had to go to prison and spend 2/3 of my life incarcerated to get structure. To get structure, man. You know, sad thing again, being in prison is bad enough. Now you're in prison. Nowadays, they are in prison and there's no structure. And if it is, it's very little. Everything's changing. The prison is not prison anymore. I hear it all the time. I got loved ones there, and they're trying to figure out how to, one, make it up out of there, you know, two, while they're there, how to retain a certain dignity, you know, a certain identity, respect, you know, and structure. They're up against the system, which don't want all that. It needs it to not have that, so that prison becomes this. It becomes this new processing center where, hey man, our brothers go in there. Those who go in with not a lot of time go in there bad, come out worse. They'll come out worse. This is why it's no surprise to a lot of us when we hear about certain brothers who go in for 2-3 years. They go in a certain way, and it's no surprise to a lot of us when we see them come out the same way that they went in years before, or worse. It's no surprise. So we got brothers in there, they're fighting to maintain some structure, but that's difficult. Again, the system, the institutions in there now, they don't, hey, this is to get down 50 yards and all this other stuff, you know, where, you know, a lot of that, whatever it is, goes. You can call yourself want to be structured on a 50 yard if you want to. You know, chances are you're, you know, the 50 yard is going to win, not your structure. You know what I mean? That's what these brothers up against now. So yeah, in a lot of ways, we were able to get that before it went bad, you know, and for the most part, a lot of us still, even being here, continue our lives in a structured fashion of sense. You know what I mean? It took prison to do that. Sad to say, but that's the truth, man. You know, but our brothers and sisters going in there, man, and they're going in there again already messed up. And for those who are fortunate enough to get 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5 years, 7 years, they're coming out the same way they went in or worse. That's bad. So prison now, you know, hey, nothing left, man. We're going to be messed up, man, if we don't get it together. Again, Alonzo said, man, do not throw your life away, young men, please. You know, Kimberly Mitchell said, man, Hoover, hey, real ones, I'm in the house. Love one. God bless us to stay diligent and love each other. Build joy. Say loving, wise things. The tongue is powerful. Good soul. Restore each other. All that it is akin to, am I my brother's keeper? Yes, you are. Yes, you are, in some form or fashion. You know, appreciate that, Kimberly. Always coming in correct. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're up against it, man. We have to figure out ways, man, you know, to get our focus back. And that's one of the things we say here, man. We focus on the focus. That's hard, man. That's hard. For the simple fact that there's so much going on in the world. Again, it's just we've been bombarded with all kind of stuff aside from social media. All right. Just the process of living now is a work in and of itself that takes most of our time. You know, some of us only have time to go to work for Gilmo so that you can make that money to pay them bills, to continue to go to work for Gilmo so you can make that money and pay their bills so you can continue to go to work for Gilmo. You know, that's how cold this shit is. You know what I mean? But again, couple that with everything else that's going on. Yeah. You know, it's hard to stay diligent. It's not impossible, but it's hard. You know, what make it possible, what could possibly put us in that position where, you know, we're just not just dealing with it, but we're actually, you know, making our way through it, is structure. You know. But anyway, appreciate that, Kimberly. And again, another thing, yeah, the tongue is a powerful weapon. We are talking about this last week. If everybody remember, that old, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me shit. Yeah, that's some bullshit. That's some bullshit. Maybe some of the reason why a lot of our people, our youth especially, are out and about doing it then because something was said that it unhinged them. Who knows? Who knows? But words are power, man. You know? So by the same way that something could be said negatively that can, destroy or dismantle an individual's, a brother or a sister's, resolve, determination, perseverance, or whatever, the same way that can happen, it can be also applied positively to help strengthen, build up, guide, or help direct brothers and sisters to stay, or direct them in the right way, on the right path. It's just the work, though. And that's what Kimberly's suggesting or letting us know. She's lighting on the fact that we have work to do. Hey, stay diligent. That means you got to work. You got to focus on that, Love each other. That's work. You know what I mean? Building joy. That's work. Imparting wise words, loving words, inspirational words. That's all work, man. And the way the world is built right now, and the way it's functioning, amen, they are taken from your work. They don't want that type of work to be worked. You know what I mean? That ain't the kind of work they want. Page say, man, I love your truth. Speak it, man. And patience. That's another thing, brother. No doubt. That's what the system creates for us too. I remember, I'm doing a life sentence. I remember the term came out, microwave. It was something, uh, microwave mentality or some shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? And saw that, how motherfucker put something in the microwave, man, 2-3 minutes, bam, you got it, it's ready. It's ready to go right now. I said, oh yeah, no shit. I remember that term. For me, I'm doing life sentence. This the early 90s when I first heard that term. Like, I'm like, oh no shit. And lo and behold, I begin to see that, because some of us were coming into prison after I've been there, 5 years, 6 years, and that was that mentality right now, and the way a lot of shit was worked back then, it couldn't have been right now. You had to have some patience with no cell phones and all this other stuff. So, that was something, we begin to see a lot of individuals didn't have or had not developed, but that's still what you see today. It still exists, no patience. Right now, that's the mindset and mentality of a lot of people. Right now. No, man, I ain't talking about letting women shit, run that, da 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 da. You know how I go. Yeah, right now, and that shit still exists. Appreciate that comment though, Kimberly, as well as you, Paige. Appreciate that, man. That patience. Bam says, man, OG Bam said, line of communication is a step towards solutions. So we say here, one of the things we talk about here is that there is a lack thereof. There's a lack of communication in the communities. I don't care what community you go in, because like I say, all the communities are suffering from the same ailments, the same denigrations, the same disrespect, the same lack of unity. It's the same, no matter what community you go into. I think the problem is, or what allows that to be, there's no communication. Either we do not know how to communicate anymore with each other, or we refuse to. But the point being, and Bam, you said that as you should, you're hitting the nail on the head. The point of communication is to reach or to have this form, this exchange of ideas. And if it's done correctly, communicating, speaking, listening, from that, you can develop solutions. Solutions could become the result of communication. We don't have it though. That's why we don't have any solutions. It's why we see what continues to take place in our communities. No communication, no communication, no room for solutions, no time to make solutions, no time to create them, no time to bounce ideas off each other. So this is what we have. And we got this in every community, lack of communication, and even us adults, we still go through it. Sometimes we don't want to communicate. We might hear something we don't like. And as a result, oh, I'm cutting them off. I'm cutting her off. I don't want to hear that. Nah. I ain't hearing what I want to hear. I ain't hearing what I like to hear. And you ain't hearing me. And then boom, communication becomes this thing now where it's not even productive. So what's barring communication? What is stopping communication from existing? Are we in our feelings? Is that it? Are we in our feelings? Have we gotten to the point that we have begun to consider ourselves above communicating because our feelings are involved? You know what I mean? I don't like what was said, so therefore, I don't want to talk. In our feelings, man, our feelings is what's barring or preventing us from communicating, man. I think that's part of it anyway, That's part of it. Lonzo said, man, and prison ain't no fun. Believe that. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Again, when we were going through it, it was a process, a learning process. And sad to say, that's where a lot of us became learned people. You know what I mean? Where we begin to learn. We begin, in spite of, we go into prison first off, mentally arrested. Trust and know that, man. We go to prison in a stage of arrested development. That's how we got there. That's how we got there. Fortunately enough, there were brothers. There still are brothers in prison who see this. When brothers come in, they see the arrested development, the immaturity, and they address it for that person's benefit. Not for that brother that been here. You know what I mean? Sometimes they catch on, latch on, sometimes they don't. But that's a fact. We get caught up in shit to where, man, hey, we're not winning, man. Our mindsets are so infantile, so emotionally distraught, our minds, to where, man, there's no communication, man. There's only feelings. We ain't get nothing from it. We gain nothing as a result of men acting less than men. That's a fact. Women act more like men than women. And that is also an emotional dress up, for them, for those that do it, There's no communication, man. And as a result, man, listen, we have no solutions, No communication is a result of people being in their feelings. That's a problem. That is a problem. Henry said, man, self-destruction is what you get from the street life. Yeah, it's a dead end, man. I promise you guys, man. Had I known, I would know, man. Nope. I'd have been able to survive everything I've been through to that point where I came into the know. Hey, nah, man. I'm not gonna do that. It got, damn, talking about me. It got us nothing. And us are those individuals, men and women, who done been to prison for some BS. See, don't get it twisted. Some our brothers and sisters went to prison for the right reasons. You know what I mean? But you don't hear about them. You know, because they're not out there like that. They know what they had to do. They did it. And hey, man, they're all right with that. It's the ones you hear about are the ones who did some ass backwards shit. And we realize it too late in the game, you know, to tell anybody at the point or at that point in moment when it should have been, you know, communicated that, hey, man, that's some bullshit, you know. It was only after the fact, decades, you know, being incarcerated or coming home after decades and say, hey, man, damn, it's the worst shit ever, man. It's a trap. The streets are a trap. The streets are a trap. Straight up, man. So yeah, man, if there's something, and I think there are so many other things our brothers and sisters can do rather than going to prison. So then that means there are so many other things that our brothers and sisters can do in the streets that would lead them to prison. You know, self-destruction, man, is what you get from street life. It's a dead end. Appreciate that, though, Henry. Appreciate that. Lonzo said, man, in prison ain't no fun. Believe that. Drugs and sex that don't nobody want. Don't do it, young man, if you ain't ready for what's to come. Well, I don't know. Yeah, okay, I get what you mean, though. Yeah. I was about to say, man, what you talking about sex? I don't know nothing, you know, hey, but yeah, I got you, though. Yeah. Don't do it, young man, if you ain't ready for what's to come. You know, back in the day, I don't know what that some of y'all might recall that that weekly show sitcom Beretta, or was it Kojak say, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, you know? You know, and that's what it is nowadays. We see this again. Our brothers and sisters, they do the crime, and when they're caught and realize that the jig is up, the game is up, they start crying. You know, they realize they can't do that time. You know, from the time of being, you know, detained and put in handcuffs all the way to the station and in the holding tank, you're being told, oh yeah, this carry 80 years. How you gonna help yourself? You know? Come on, man. If you don't do the crime. Damn if you can do the time. You know, just don't do the crime, man. Shit. Save yourself from that bullshit. Zoe said, man, my mother always told me, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. I said, mama, ain't that Beretta? That was Beretta, man. With that cockatoo parrot. Yeah, man. That was an old show back in the day. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Hypocrites preaching truth, and rats acting like they the biggest gangsters. Hey, well, that's again, that's the norm. It's abnormal, but that's the norm. That's the norm now, you know? And sad to say, it's accepted. It's accepted across the board, man, by a lot of individuals, man, who know better. You know what I mean? But they accept this from others. They, you know, might even be themselves, but that's the norm now. You know, how do you communicate that shouldn't be that? You know, how you even have that conversation in society where that is okay? Yeah, and again, man, you see shit. Social media is rife with that shit. It's rife with. It's there. It's prevalent. You know, some of the hardest cats, until the shit hit the fan, then you see or you hear about shit. You know, nah, man, it's a crazy life, man. It's a crazy life. Lonzo ends on saying, man, don't get tricked out your spot. Henry said, man, salute to Tough and the brothers like you and Bam for taking the time to care about the future of this generation from a self-destructive mentality and unbalanced behavior. behavior. Yeah, man. Again, shout out to Tough, man. I went and sat with Tough, man. And I actually just met the brother that day. I had heard his name before. You know what I'm saying? Because I have loved ones who know Tough and respect Tough. You know, they respect what Tough is doing. They respect him as a man and a father. You know what I mean? So I had heard his name before. It wasn't until that day that I met Tough and we sat down and chopped it up. And I appreciate the fact that I was fortunate enough to have met the brother, you know, again, and we need more like him, you know. I'm like this. I'm like this. Like I say, man, I'm the type of brother I observe in more ways than one. I don't just see you. I listen, you know, I watch you and I listen, you know, I pay attention. And his demeanor that whole day, his get down that whole day was about his job. And I spent the whole day, you know, there, you know, at that situation, you know. I sat over here for a little bit, you know, listened to that, you know, sat over there, you know, and just sat with Tough a couple of times, you know. But I'm peeping the difference in terms of what his dedication is to the situation as opposed to others, you know, and their involvement and dedication. So again, that's on the face of it. That's at the job what he's doing. I don't know what the brother do in his personal life, not concerned with it, you know, but I saw a circumstance that day, whatever he had done for this person some months back, Tough, a few months back, she was in a bad way. And, you know, to him, this was just another human being, you know what I mean? So he did what a lot of us wouldn't do. He helped this woman, you know? He helped this woman in more ways than one, provided her with information, helped her to help herself. I was there today. She came back after being gone, straight, clean, appreciative, you know? And I mean, I witnessed that shit. Come back, you know, and I'm using the term a lot of brothers use, sister, you, and bless the brother. Just her presence returning, just her coming back was blessing enough, coming back in the condition she was in as opposed to the condition she was, you know, when they parted company, you know. Cold thing, man. I saw it from my own eyes, you know, and he was humble. He was humble. So I got to respect that, you know. So again, shout out to Tough, man. And, you know, for me, I've seen enough. You know what I mean? I'd seen enough. So I appreciate that, brother, again. There you go. Kimberly said, man, put 3 apples up for a couple of days. Ignore the first apple. Say loving words to the second apple. Third apple, talk shit to it. The third apple age faster. Watch how you talk and treat your people. Love is power. Come on, y'all. You know, one of the themes here is love. And it starts with self. And once we get that down pat, we the apples, man. We talk love to the other apples, man. Cave, man, ain't nothing but good gonna come from that. It's gonna be some, you know, that's nourishing. That's nourishment. You know what I mean? Come on, man. Come on, man. All right. Appreciate that, Kimberly. All right, Henry said, man, I remember Busta Rhymes said there are devils in every race, but the black devil is the worst because it's not in his natural behavior to act uncivilized. Damn, that makes sense to me. And, you know, Henry, just saying, when we talk about a lot of what we're going through, a lot of what we see as what we see in terms of our people's behavior, the majority of that being learned behavior, we see where it comes from, but it's so unnatural to us that we take it that much higher than that's, you know what I mean? To a whole nother level in terms of evilness, wickedness, you know, depravity. We, for whatever reason, man, yeah. Damn. Yeah, it's so unnatural, man. Appreciate that comment, bro. All right, Queen Nzinga send a shout out to Kimberly Mitchell, man. Queen Nzinga say, Kimberly, you are absolutely right. Be intentional with your words this week. That's the motivation, y'all, and the momentum. Again, this is Monday, and it is Under the Groove Podcast. Everybody, appreciate you being here. Let's be mindful of our words. Let's allow our words to propel us through the week positively on a positive flow. You know, let those words not just, keep us in motion throughout the week, but, give us momentum, not to get through the week too fast. You want to marinate in it. Take each day, man. Take each day as you should. You don't want to be in a hurry. You don't want to be too slow. Find that rhythm, man, that flow. Gotta be just right. But let's allow our words to be our motivation, and to help that motivation get some momentum. Those words give our lives momentum. Let's do it like that. So I appreciate that, man. Queen Nzinga said, man, you are absolutely right. Be intentional with your words this week. You can either build people up or break something you can fix. These young people need more positivity. Real spit, man. Bam says, man, OG Bam, man. Again, y'all, I don't know if any of y'all know. Me and this brother, yeah, I have a respect and love for Bam, man. I don't know if you know, but I was on the yard with the brother, man. We level fold out the game, man. And I'm telling you, man, it just what you call my mama used to say about people that he down to earth. You know what I mean? That was the first thing I was able to impart about Bam. He was down to earth, and what that means for a lot of those who don't know, that means just basically, hey man, just real as they come, just as real as they come, hey, the type of brother that say what he means what he says, that was my first impression of that brother, man. And I tell you, immediately I said, yeah, all right. But yeah, man, there you go, Bam. Bam say, man, we got to start paving the concrete and talk to the youth, get into the schools. And this was something, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. This is something Tough suggested to me. I told Tough again, man, hey, I'm ready. You ain't got to pay me. I'm ready. Yeah. But that point Bam just made is correct. We got to get out on these streets, man. And I know a lot of us, even me, sometimes we think, damn, man, that's hazardous. It's hazardous. These hands, man, ain't no rhyme or reason, But that's necessary. And not just paving the concrete, man. I mean, pounding the concrete, or hitting the pavement. You got to go in them schools too. That way you probably be able to grab their attention a little better anyway when they're in school. It'd be hard to, garner an individual's attention on the streets. Too much at play. The focus ain't gonna be locked in as it should be, Got too much going on around you, too much movement. School's different, a little more settled, a little more settled, a little more structured. So I agree with you, Bam. Appreciate that. You say again, man, we got to start paving the concrete and talk to the youth, get into schools. It's a big difference these days. Absolutely, bro. All right, helping build communities. He said, man, we need to change the music too. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for that, and appreciate you for coming in, helping build communities. The name seems familiar. Might be your first time here. In any respect, you are more than welcome to be here. You already know this is Under the Groove Podcast. Tonight is Monday. This is Motivational and Momentum Monday. We're touching bases with the people. Your comment is point on, because I saw some today that was, it was straight up. So the music is bad. We all know that. What I saw today, man, it spoke to that. And what shocked me was a lot of the youth was saying this music sucked. The youth was saying this. I'm not making that up. The youth said this music sucked. They ain't talking about nothing. Hey, they're not talking about nothing but a gang of money they don't got, shooting other brothers, killing each other, and our women. And I was like, hey man, wait a minute. Something is really happening. Something is actually taking place with our people. For the youth to speak against their era of music is a cold sign. It's a cold sign. And I'm trying to catch up, y'all. Let me jump up in here. There's a whole lot. Rakufu, man, he said, man, I guess you're not getting my comments tonight because you haven't replied. Hey, Ra, I promise you, I'm looking through it right now. That is the first comment I've gotten from you tonight, my brother. You should know. Hey, bro, come on now. Come on up in here. But that was the only one. I guess you're not getting my comments tonight because you haven't replied. Yeah, this is the first one I've seen, brother. And I'm not even far from where I just left from to read that right there. Real spit. So, yeah. Bam say, man, speak on it, man, because structure is definitely needed. Chris say, Bub, have you reached the point of turning the other cheek? No. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Because there's still elements that I about me that I struggle with, that I struggle with. But at the same time, let me just not put it on that. That's not even an excuse. Let me just say it like this. Hey, man, no one has a right to put their damn hands on nobody. Period. Period. If that occurs, then first and foremost, there's a lack of respect that exists. And no matter me turning the other cheek, that's not going to change that individual. It's not going to make him think twice about the next individual who they might want to strike or whatever, and think that, okay, they're going to turn the other cheek. To know you put your hands on me, that's going to be a problem. That should go for anybody, man. That should go for anybody, And again, so when we talk about scenarios like that, what we have to address first from, again, the individuals we're dealing with. So we're dealing with emotional people in the sense that, okay, man, somebody may not like what I said, and as a result, you think you're going to be able to strike me? Now, take into account, I'm not going to be no disrespectful brother. I'm not coming. I don't N-word you. I don't B-word you. I don't punk ass you. None of that. None of that. I'm going to talk to you, or I'm going to attempt to relate to you how I know I would love, or how I expect or look to be related to, respected. That's it. Anything short of that, that's a problem. That's a problem, Now, that being said, and I'm just being straight up. Now, that being said, I also, there's a lot that play into that shit, Chris. Good question. Great question. And one of the things is this, man. I can't even think in terms of just me if I'm reacting. You know what I mean? To something that I totally disagree with, that my whole core does not agree with. Somebody putting their hands on me. You know, I have to think though. I have to be mindful of who's with me and how that could end up. I could have my grandkids with me, my niece, my nephews. You know what I mean? My wife and shit. There's man, there's a lot that one would have to consider, man, in a situation like that. But I don't know if that time or if there's time to even deal with that, like that. So now I haven't reached that point. No, I haven't reached that point. I've had situations and circumstances where, on the job, man, with, you know, others have said things that's I give them like, yeah, all right, you can have that, you know, you can have that, home, I walk on away because I know better. I know better. So in that circumstance, that's a different look, that's a different situation that I can pretty much determine things won't go left because I have to be in control of that. Now just somebody putting their hands on me, that's something totally different. I don't know how to deal with that. I wouldn't know how to deal with that. Again, and there, wow. Only thing probably, yeah, what kind of danger I put my wife in, my grandkids or my niece and nephews, my family, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. So you doubled up that question though. Have you reached the point of turning the other cheek? And then you said, Bub, have you reached the point where if a man slap you, would you walk away? Again, so there's a lot you got to take into consideration, man. Take into consideration before the slap even occurs. So I got to be in my right state of mind and understand that, okay, man, there's a consequence if I keep this, the verbalization, you know what I mean? I have to have the presence of mind to know what this shit gonna escalate to if I don't disengage. Or, the term everyone loves using, de-escalate, So before that even, is a thing, another individual putting his hands on me, slapping me, of all things. Yeah, I would have to, I would be on top of that immediately, like, okay, wait a minute, this ain't gonna end well. All right, bro, I'm and go on this way. And hopefully he don't follow me, you know. So that all right, I'm gonna give it to you straight, brother. That's it, That's it. But I'm still working on me. I'm still a work in progress. Um, excuse me. I'm still a work in progress, man. You know, something like that. I don't really think about shit like that. And that's not to say, there's a probability that something like that could occur. I just don't think about it. You know, I just don't. You know, but yeah, let's may that never happen. So it ain't got to be something I have to deal with. All right, Kimmy said, man, I went to the detention home, baby jail. I served my time and went to court. The judge released me, but my mom told the judge to make me do another week. Tough love. I understand it now. Yeah, I had that type of situation going through LP. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it didn't work, but an extra 2 weeks and it didn't work, but yeah, that's how my mom's, because I get it now. I got it some time back that she was trying to save me from myself. I didn't get it then though. I did not understand it. Wasn't happy about it either. Swept down. She didn't love me, but she did. But she did. And Kimberly, you seem to be all right. You've adjusted well, huh? not to jail, but being out here, you know, doing what you're supposed to do. Henry said, like you said, Big Bub, sticks and stones is some BS. Words can cut like a sword. Hey, 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 they say the pen is mightier than the sword, man. The pen is mightier than the sword. That should tell you something, you know. All right, Rakufu again. He said, there you go. Now you're in there, Ra. But your first statement was, I guess you're not getting my comments tonight because you haven't replied. No, I did. Again, that was the first time I've seen that. Queen Nzinga said, yeah, I don't see any from you either, Rakufu. All right, Ross said, man, how about this website up above this comment? What website up above that comment? I don't see it. Oh, well, Henry said, yes, indeed. Bam, interview on Kev Mac videos episode was classic. Is that it? How about this website up above this comment? I guess that, let me know if that's what you're talking about, where Henry said that Bam interview on Kev Mac videos, that episode was classic. All right. B60 say Chris 223. That's nearly impossible to do. Yeah. Again, though, I think the saving grace for that moment, for something like that, would be for you to catch what's gonna occur, what could possibly happen before it does. You know, and again, I like to think that I'm not a good judge of people, but I observe behavior, you know, good enough to where, okay, I could see, you know, I could be 2 minutes ahead of a whole, you know, and be like, yeah, nah, this ain't gonna end well. And, you know, I'll have presence of mind and say, all right, yeah, you're right. All right, bro, take care. Boom, I'll get out the way. You know, I'm gonna save us both. You know, I'm gonna save us both. But I think part of the problem, though, with this whole how you painted that scenario is the fact that we're living in a time where there's no rhyme or reason to what a lot of our brothers do. You know, and that's really no different than, you know, in a lot of ways coming up back in the day. Back in the day, you step on somebody's biscuits or they Stacy's, and that's a problem. You know, you think about it now, there's no rhyme or reason to that. Yeah, let me shoot, but it's what you got your hanky for. You know, take your foot up back of you on your calf leg and you buff that out. You know what I mean? You ain't got to stoop down, just But yeah, man, that's a hard one. You know, B60 hitting the nail on the head with that one. Yeah, you going to say B60, only my parents can get away with that. Hey, right? Man, shit. My mama and my brother, my oldest brother, man. That dude, man, must have socked me so hard one time. I swear, man, I knew he wasn't my brother. You couldn't be my brother. You know. But there was a lesson in it. He was trying to tell me something, and I wasn't trying to listen. You know, same went for moms trying to tell me the way to go, ain't trying to hear that. As a result, bah, you know. Yeah, I done been punched out by my mama. Tell you the truth. All right, Raymond Scott, what's happening with it, bro? Peace, prosperity, you and the fam, bro. I see you. Yeah, you say what it do, bub. Shout out to the Royal Good Congregation. Peace and blessings to everyone. Same to you, bro. Same to you. B60 said, man, that was a tactic used in the civil rights era. Yeah. He'll walk up to him, spit on him, slap him, pour milk on, just yeah. And in that respect, though, see, that's a different mindset, man. That again, well, we know what they called that was the nonviolent approach, you know. So that fit that movement, it's plan of action or it's plan of no action, you know what I mean? So that makes sense. But I wouldn't find myself in that type of get out either, or either or neither. I wouldn't be in no shit like that, Nah. It's crazy how a lot of things happen before our time or before the time of us because our mindsets are different. It wasn't meant for us to be around in that era, that time. A lot of us, especially with the mentality, a lot of us have or had, that wouldn't end well for nobody, you know. In fact, that thing would have kicked off the thing, and ain't no telling where we be right now, There's no telling. Real spit, man. All right, James, man, love and respect from the CPT, huh? There you go. Right back to you, loved one. Peace, prosperity, man. Love and respect right back to the CPT. Good to see you here with us. Good to see you here with us. You say salute, Bub. Love you, my brother. Represent yours to the fullest. Staying under the groove. Thank you, bro, for being here. And you do the same, man. Your community, man. Community is everything. But you got to take into account we're part of the community, right? So we got to have our shit together. We got to represent it how it's supposed to be represented. Because in some ways, community ain't representing us correctly. So, you got to do that yourself sometime. Represent it right. Raymond Skoll said, man, I wonder, does the idea of turning the other cheek can be metaphorical? Not in a literal sense. Not literally. Your mother literally slapping you. Figuratively, okay. I guess because they're I don't know, man, like physically, literally a hand slap, or could there be other slaps to the face, metaphorically speaking? Of course. And those, we got to be prepared for as well, Again, though, really, when it get down to it, everything still evolves around our state of emotion, our state of mental development. You know what I mean? Again, a lot of us we're still very much so suffering from arrested development. A lot of us actually still go through emotional issues. We tend not to act like men. Rather, we act like immature men, So there's that problem that is thriving, that's doing real well in the communities, to be exact. A lot of immaturity, a lot of emotional brothers. A lot of emotional brothers. All right, Jane said, man, what's up to all my family? To my beautiful, what's up to all of my beautiful claiming the hooves and everybody else out there representing theirs. Be righteous. We not each other's enemy. I am my people's keeper and safeguard. Real walk one. All right. Where Rakufu, is he making it up in here? Yeah, there you go. I see Quinn and Zing say Rakufu. I see that last message. All right, James, see my beautiful people. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace to the H, the C, P, B, and G. One. At the end, that covers the whole community, the people as a whole. It should. And the non-affiliated, the players, the hustlers, got to be all inclusive, man. Yeah, I still don't see the website, Rakufu. I just don't. It didn't come up. I hear you. I see what you're saying, Queen and Zinga. I don't see the website though, bro. You might have to want to email me that so I can see what you're talking about. Make sure I don't miss something. James Cassidy, man, peace, love, and respect to the hub. And salute OG Bam. I love you, big homie. Sending mine to you and yours. West up to the front hoods. The FHCC. We all we got. Black fist up high on mine. One. All right. Send shots out, love out to the people, man. Let them know they love being thought of. Rakufu said, man, I'm putting a link in the chat. All right, bro. Go right ahead. James going to say, man, it ain't nothing wrong with pushing peace. Just because I push peace strictly amongst my people doesn't make me weak, although some unfortunately perceive the peaceful attitude as a weakness. Damn. We get that. Going to say love yourself and your people before we lose that chance and end up underground like so many before us who had their lives cut short way too soon. Let's live for each other and the mission of unity. Rakufu going to say, man, Bub, look up this on YouTube and please play it. This is the title, Africa Invented Paper Before China. I've always known that, thought that. It is a whole lot others be trying to take credit for. But yeah, don't you worry. Let me do that right now. Okay, and it said, okay, Africa invented paper before China. All right, got you. Let me go up in here right quick. All right, we're gonna leave Malcolm up in there though, Malcolm. All right. Okay, Africa invented paper before China. That was the text. Let's see what come up. Hold on, y'all. All right. Say, Ra, is this thing 30-something minutes? Rakufu, let me know if this is the same one. The one I'm looking at now says 30. Where the hell that thing go? Oh, let me hurry up and get rid of that. 37 minutes. Let me make sure it's not a shorter version. Hold on. They hit Africans invented paper first. This one is 13 minutes. Then there's another one that says how ancient China invented paper, but obviously that's not the one you're talking about. Uh-huh. They quick to do that though, and then also neglect or leave out the fact that black people were in China at the time. They're good for that. All right, let me get back to this. All right, so you say so I punched it up, man. That thing said 37 minutes, man. What part you want me to go to? Let me know. Chris said, man, you haven't reached that level of spirituality where your body is disconnected from your mind. Yeah. And that's the journey, man. That's part of the mission. You know, I want my spirituality to be the lead. You know, I want it to. It should be, I think. My spirituality should lead my body and my mind. You know what I mean? You know, well, my mind, which moves my body. So yeah, man, spirituality, I think, is, you know, the thing that should be, you know, in the lead of us, you know, in this shell as humans. You know, the spirit should lead everything. That's what I think. So I don't disagree with that. Appreciate you saying that. You said my spirituality, you haven't reached the level of spirituality where your body is disconnected from your mind. No, I have not, brother. Not yet. Kimberly said, do I get my orange t-shirts tonight? I don't know. I'm about to go in there and look at that too, Kimberly. See what your order look like. I know you don't mess with it, but when folks say so, I'll go and look and see what the process look like. Rakufu said, man, the title is They Hid the Fact that Africa Created Paper. Okay, let me go look at it one more time. You said they hid. All right. Okay, nope, not that one. I actually thought I saw that too just now. They hid. Yep, got it. It's 13 minutes, correct? All right, they hid. Now, okay. Oh shit, there we go. I don't want to fuck up nothing. Now, Rakufu, what part of this get down you want me to play? Let me know. I got it queued up and ready to go. All right, let me know. Okay, so okay, the one should say got that. They hit African created paper first. Got you right there. Roscoe says the book called The Destruction of Black Civilization speaks on ancient African invented paper. It was called papyrus. Right. 13 minutes, yeah. All right, first 5. All right, let's head up in there right quick. First 5. Uh-oh. Hold on.
Everything you were taught about who invented writing. Stop. Before you scroll past this, what if everything you were taught about who invented writing was missing an entire continent? Not adjusted, not debated.
There you go.
Missing.
Hold on.
Stop. Before you scroll past this, what if everything you were taught about who invented writing was missing an entire continent? Not adjusted, not debated. Missing. Let that sit for a second. Because right now, in classrooms around the world, children are learning that writing began somewhere in Mesopotamia, and maybe, if the textbook is generous, China gets a mention. Africa? Barely a footnote. But here is what the archaeological record actually says, and what it has been saying for decades. The Nile Valley was producing written language while other civilizations were still figuring out how to organize their harvests. This is not a conspiracy. This is not revisionism. This is what happens when you follow the evidence without the politics attached to it. Let us go back, way back. Around 3200 BCE, the earliest known Egyptian hieroglyphics begin appearing, not as scattered symbols on cave walls, but as a fully functioning system of communication. Tags, labels, inscriptions on ivory, on pottery, on the walls of tombs. Historians have found evidence of this at sites like Abydos in Upper Egypt, where a tomb believed to belong to a pre-dynastic ruler called Scorpion I yielded over 200 inscribed bone and ivory tags. These were not decorations. These were administrative records. These were the receipts of an economy already complex enough to need them. And Abydos is not the only site telling the story. Across the ancient sites of Hierakonpolis, Nikkata, and the broader Nile corridor, artifacts carrying proto-hieroglyphic markings have been pulled from the earth, markings that predate what we were told was the birth of organized writing in East Asia by several centuries. Now, let's talk about China, because that comparison is not casual. For a long time, the narrative around early Chinese writing was treated as almost mythologically ancient. The oracle bone inscriptions of the Shang dynasty, discovered at Anyang, were held up as one of humanity's oldest writing systems. And they are remarkable. Do not misread what is being said here. The oracle bones, dating to around 1200 BCE, represent one of the most significant archaeological finds in history. But the Shang dynasty inscriptions come nearly 2,000 years after the Egyptian writing systems had already been established, cataloged, and used to run an empire. 2,000 years. That is not a minor discrepancy. That is not a rounding error. That is the kind of gap that should fundamentally change how we teach the history of human communication. And yet, it rarely does. Now, some academics will point to the Yangshao culture and early markings found on pottery in China dating to around 5000 BCE, arguing that these symbols represent the seeds of a writing tradition that would eventually become the Chinese script. That argument has some archaeological support, but here is where precision matters. Marks on pottery and a functional script that records administrative, religious, and political information are two very different things. The Egyptians were not just scratching signs, they were documenting tax records, royal decrees, religious rituals, and commercial exchanges. The leap from symbol to system is enormous, and Egypt made that leap first. And Egypt is Africa. That sentence should not need repeating, but given how persistently some academic traditions have attempted to culturally separate ancient Egypt from the continent it sits on, it does. John Henrik Clarke, the scholar and historian who spent decades challenging the sanitized versions of African history, put it plainly when he argued that African people were the first to organize their spiritual, intellectual, and administrative lives into written systems. The work of scholars like Ivan van Sertima, Cheikh Anta Diop, and later Molefi Asante pushed the same point from different angles, that the continent was not a passive recipient of civilizational ideas from elsewhere. It was a source, a deep, original source. And the physical evidence backs this up. In 1998, German archaeologist Günther Dreyer and his team excavating at Abydos announced findings that shook the archaeological world. The inscribed
They still digging, man. The Europeans still in Africa digging up shit, man.
Tablets and tags from Tomb UJ, believed to belong to a ruler from around 3200 BCE, showed a writing system already sophisticated enough to record quantities, locations, and ownership. Dreyer argued these were some of the earliest examples of true writing ever discovered. Not proto-writing, not symbolic decoration, writing. His conclusions were debated, as all such findings are, but the debate itself is instructive. When Western archaeologists found early inscriptions in Mesopotamia or markers in the Indus Valley, those findings were celebrated and widely incorporated into historical timelines. When African material of equal or greater age surfaces, the question of whether it counts as real writing somehow becomes the central issue. That asymmetry in how evidence is treated is not accidental. It reflects something deeper about who gets to be seen as the originator of civilization and who gets filed under the category of influenced by. But let us stay with the facts, because the facts are powerful enough on their own. The Narmer palette, dating to approximately 3100 BCE, is one of the earliest examples of historical narrative in human record. It commemorates the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under a single ruler, and it does so through a visual written language already refined enough to tell a political story with symbolic precision. You are looking at propaganda, ancient Egyptian propaganda, which means you are looking at a society that had already moved past survival and into the realm of governance, ideology, and information management. That requires writing. Writing that was already developed enough to serve those functions at that point in time.
All right. All right. Hey, man. So, and you wanted that. Why? What was the significance of that? Well, other than the fact that some people probably didn't understand that that was get down, or that was first. Was it a specific reason to make you think about that or wanted to, share that with the RGC? Rakufu? Okay. Roscoe said, man, it perplexes me realizing the degree the world has went to in order to distort our history, deceive everybody about our role in world history, and completely erasing our accomplishments. Yeah, man, you and me both. That's some sad shit. But we say here often enough, man, there's a reason for all this, you guys. We know this. There's a reason why this shit is taking place. And it's way more, I want to say, insidious, sinister, than we know. But the reason why they're hiding it is way more beneficial to us to know it than it is for them to expose it to us. We don't know it because there's a lot behind it that would do something to destroy, or that will destroy them and what they got going on. This is, and the writing is just part of it. I think there are so many other factors that play a role in, are being unaware of, our identity, who we really are, and what we truly come from. There's a whole lot at play, man. There's a whole lot at play. Rakufu said, man, well, we Black Americans are the originators, of all things, including religions, papers, governments, life, exercises, etc. Just wanted to show that. And I appreciate that. And it's always a good look, man, to impart these gems and jewels to the RGC. That's one of the things we do, man. And we do that unapologetically. We do that respectfully, but we do it most of all for the reason or the purpose of, bringing something to the people, some information, informing the people, maybe even to educate the people. You know what I mean? You dropping that should be a cue or incentive for brothers and sisters watching this to go and say, okay, let me go check this out now. Once that's over, let me go check this out and let me see what I can, what I can get from this. But yet there's so much more going on in terms of how we are being denied, not just our history and identity, but everything we've given to this world. It's for a reason. It's not by mistake that we are all over the place about so much that our people brought to the table. We're all discombobulated and confused. We're all over the place. Everybody, man, we're just fragmented, we're in disarray. And this shit is by purpose. It's intentional, Just imagine, we knew half of the shit that they got and they don't want us to know. Just imagine, man, the outcome of what the people will be about. We originated everything. Henry say originated everything, man. And I appreciate you dropping that, Rakufu. Needed that in the get down. Trust. You're going to say, and just knowing that hopefully it will inspire greater greatness from us. And that's what we need to be putting down, man. We need to bring something to the table, inspire us to do more. I say this all the time. If you want to look at it like this, the last great thing our people did was they want to call it the civil rights movement. I call it the human rights movement, the revolutionary movement. That was the last thing that, we done as a people together, and that they recorded, as significant, what I mean? But again, there was a lot of play there, man, that, it was all, what you call smoke and mirrors, you know what I mean? But that is. That was the last thing we done as a collective. We're due. I just think we're due, We are due, man, for greatness. And again, I say, my opinion, this is going to happen before it's, all said and done when my turn comes. You know what I mean? So that's what I see, man. I see that. And Rakufu said, man, with paper comes books and stored knowledge. And they got it all locked away. They got every bit of it, man. They got the majority of it. Just imagine what they took from the Library of Alexandria, Punic Wars and all that. Just think about all the shit they took, man, that they got mothballed away, underneath the Vatican, in Washington, D.C., probably, or Cheyenne Mountain, one of them, in France, in Germany, in the UK, all our stuff. And they're in cahoots by holding that shit and keeping it from us. There's something we can't. Hey, man. Yeah, so the story was told that Chinese invented paper, or papyrus. I read different long time ago. I never trusted that shit when I heard it. Not only that, that blacks were over in China. Hey, man, don't get me started on that. But yeah, we were all over the damn place, man. Our civilizations we had civilizations before civilizations. And with that, man, is what we're discussing now. Man, the invention of the creation of paper. You know, they want to talk about, Mesopotamia, and, coriform and all that. Man, get out of here, man. Get out of here. Again, just another example of our legacy being stolen, utilized for the profit benefit, the uplifting of other cultures and civilizations rather than where it originally come from and where the credit should go. That's something we all used to. And I think that's unnatural for us to even be used to that. That should be still in that, just abnormal. We should not be used to that. That should not be something that's normalized and we okay with, I tripped to see that they said 1998, the Germans were still over there digging, desecrating, burial grounds, man, for artifacts. This is what's going on, man. This is what's going on. And that ain't good. Rakufu says, man, look at the bus the bus boycotts. We took each other to work in the morning, working together, broke the bus system. Remember, we had this conversation, Rakufu. That was one of the grandest ideas our people had. Not only that, but it showed how communication creates solutions and how coming together we get shit done. It broke the Memphis bus lines, right? Boom. It hurt them so bad it started to spread. Them people came in and it took a year, right? Because they wanted to see if they can break us, our people. They did it. But in any respect, when they realized they weren't going to beat them, they submitted. But what I say about our people in them, those times, they were just too forgiving. They were too forgiving. Once they boycotted that and they figured out a way to get to where they needed to be without, that bus line, that racist institute, that system, they should have stuck with that. They should have never went back. In fact, they should have created their own bus line, which I think they did, and they should have kept that thing up and running. But they gave in. They shouldn't have done that, They shouldn't have done that, man. I hate that they did that shit. Kimberly said, man, every time we learn something, we get a microscopic wrinkle on our brain. So try to get a wrinkle and give a good winkle. Excuse me. And so try to get a wrinkle and give a good wrinkle to your loved ones. Y'all have a wrinkle. Y'all got a wrinkle. Thanks, Kim. All right. A real sister, man. She says, shalom, shalom, family. Pray all is well. Pray all is well, all. Just stop by to ask Alonzo for the link to join him tomorrow morning if he's here tonight. Praise Yah. Hallelujah. If you go and look, a real sister, I did incorporate the link. I put the link into the community section of Under the Groove podcast. You go into the community and the link is there. The meeting ID as well as the passcode. All right. I did do that. All right. So you could check there. Zoe was here. I don't know where he is now. So, all right. Appreciate you stopping by. Motivation Murray, man. He said, man, I'm learning new stuff every day, big bro. A lot of us lost cause. We never learned the real stuff. Yeah. And again, we were talking earlier about the structure that existed. So again, don't get me wrong. Let's admit that prison is a bad place. Nothing good should come out of prison. You know what I mean? However, back then when we were doing that time, life sentences and stuff, prison had structure. There was a certain protocol and structure you had to adhere to. Mandatory, no exceptions. As a result, again, brothers who came in ignorant left conscious. Those who came in illiterate left learned. You know what I mean? So again, it's just hard trying to prescribe something good to prison. You know what I mean? But that is the truth. That's what happened for a lot of brothers who went into prison, man. They went into prison, man, a certain way and came out different, men. Came out ready for the world. You know what I mean? That's crazy, but that's the truth. You know? So, Motivation Murray said, man, I'm learning new stuff every day, big bro. A lot of us lost cause. We never learned the real stuff. And the reason for me saying that was because the sad part is a lot of us had to go inside to become incarcerated, be in prison to learn the shit, most of the shit we know. That don't go for all our educated brothers, and I don't profess to be, you know what I mean? But a lot of our brothers are learned brothers, you know what I mean, are intelligent, academics. And they did that out here. They didn't do that incarcerated, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, honor go to them, man. And salute to them brothers. But there are those of us who had to go to prison to get some of what we, what we have in terms of our identity, our history, you know what I mean? And just those things that really matter, that should matter to a man. I wouldn't have known none of this, man. Well, maybe not all that I know, if prison had not been in the cards, But yeah, I learned about that, man, China, and how it was us, period, point blank. It was us, period, point blank. Anything that they function on, run on, and want to claim, that was all us from the jump. And all of them came after the fact. And for the most part, a lot of them came millenniums after the fact. The 1,000 years later, 1,500, 2,000 years later before they, come on. But yeah. So much, man. Rakufu said, man, the Gap Band comes from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street area. The name GAP is the cross streets of the town. All right, real sister, you're more than welcome. Rakufu said, man, the song you dropped, The Bomb on Me, Baby, is about the government dropping the bomb on the city. Yeah. They sent them in there, man. The Air Force dropping them planes, yeah, man. Yeah, man. That was Tulsa, or that was in Oklahoma. But then with all the others, the Black Wall Streets that existed and how they ridded the earth, our communities of those societies we built. The way they went about it was, just some messed up stuff. Messed up. All right, Frederick Hazaby, good to see you up in here, bro. Good to see you up in here. All right. B6EM said, man, Greenway Archer Pine, man. Rakufu said, man, first time in USA history, they dropped bombs on their own land. Yeah. Well, before that, the Civil War, they were shooting cannons at each other. So, but yeah, dropping bombs, that was a different look because the plane came after the fact of Civil War. Yeah. You're going to say, Rakufu, man, Greenwood Avenue, the main artery. This was the Black Wall Street strip, Archer Street, Pine Street. I guess those were the two cross streets, right? Or the Gap. B60 said, man, that's right, Rakufu. All right, y'all, it's time. And I know first off, just, hey, listen. Like, share, comment, subscribe to Under the Groove Podcast. This is touching bases with the people from Monday to Friday nights. This is where we get it in. We like to focus on the focus. And again, ours is mostly organic, man, and I gotta appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate the fact that it is. You know what I mean? Because that gives us that it's not scripted. It's not scripted, man. So I appreciate everybody in RGC, those touching into the UTG. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you. This is how we go about this, man, when it's time to cut it up or cut it out till the next day. Hey, love yourselves so that you're able to love that brother or sister that may not need, they need some love, all right? Take care of yourselves so that you can take care of the next brother and sister who may need your support. All right, let's do it like that. Happy Monday evening to everyone. Peace and prosperity again to everyone. The power is in the people. This man, and that's powerful to say that, but the power is in the people. That being said, you are, you have been, and you will be under the groove. One love, everybody. Black first. All right.
Count the names, count the bodies, count the victory. Cullen Hughes, Hearst, and writing future history. From the Apollo to the borough to the sphere, where the echo of those Harlem nights still ringing clear. So when they ask what happened in those tenement flats, between the spirituals and where consciousness is at, tell them we transformed suffering to scholarship and song. Tell them we've been telling you we're brilliant all along. The Renaissance will prologue every decade since the sequel. Every black child born's continuation of the people who survived the Middle Passage, survived the Jim Crow laws, and built magnificence from nothing but their vision and their flaws. That's in the sergeant. This is once a less than actors, hats, and mistakes. Please don't you, I can't stop us. Power sensitive, watch you the applause for polls. Need your data, talks and constantly problem when the wet just wanna build the season bait. Now don't get the pause. It's just erasing up the cons. Plead the markets off the main. Make it on the fans. Turn the neck and love the dirt. Suffers like a kesha. You went from the preaching up on side as each bitch on the shit and untrue seeing vet someone that varied it's on Gary Land. Be hell in heaven, you see what the Bonavent. You wait something for the marker rate to keep him full the club and saw the bloods to the sang of land is carried open slowly. Keep us lucky on my mother, break your generosity more than he and let the peasant be. It's every time we keep a spawn.